Pandas. I love that panda. So it does bulk data manipulation, which sounds boring. It's extremely powerful and extremely handy. So as you can see from my amazing dot points, you can manipulate large amounts of data very quickly, again, using other languages to speed up things. It's extremely easy to use, as you will see, and has a very consistent API, which means one function, you can kind of guess the arguments of another function because they're not going to change that much. You can also choose between mutating an object or returning a new one. If you don't know what that means, don't worry, we'll see an example. But that's really handy sometimes. And it's great for Excel and CSV files because they're in a two-dimensional shape, for lack of a better term, which is what Pandas is great for. So let's see a code example. Again, importing it with PD because you're going to be using it a lot. It's common. So one of the data types that it uses is series, which I don't really use that much, to be honest. And notice that NumPy dtype. This is where NumPy is everywhere. Yeah, so this is where you just got 1, 2, 3, and then you've got like the index of it, 0, 1, 2. That's not very interesting. So let's get a data frame. So as you can see, this is something you might do a lot. You got an array of objects with the same keys. Kind of reminds you of an Excel spreadsheet. But, manipulating it isn't great in Python by default because you have to iterate over all the rows, blah, blah, blah. It's not efficient in storing or anything like that. This is what it looks like in Pandas. As you can see, columns, rows, data. I love being able to see it like that. PyCharm Debugger also has a great way of viewing it. Yeah. So let's look at some information about it. D types. So the first column is integers. Second column is floats, or has a decimal point. And the third column is object because that has a string in it. That's just how NumPy does stuff. You can see the columns, ABC, and you can get the values as a NumPy array, which is handy. And as you can see, it gets the D type of object because it has a string in it, so it can't classify them all as integers. Describe, it's handy. It gives you straight away lots of information about your data frame, mean, standard deviation, min, max, count. I don't use it, to be honest, but it is quite nice. Easy to get the transpose of the data frame, which, as you can see already, that was extremely easy. If you were to do that manually, you'd be writing code for a bit, and it would be slow and painful. Transpose is, thank you, good question. It's basically where you just flip it. So now we've got the columns as the rows, so A, B, C, and the rows as the columns, 0, 1. So let's use the describe to, seeing as that actually is the data frame itself, use that and manipulate it a bit. So we can sort values, which again, really easy. If you were to do that by yourself, you'd be there for a bit. And as we can see, even though we've called sort values, it's returned a new one, and the old one is still the same. But if we add this in place equals true, it doesn't return anything, and X is now mutated or changed. That's it. Yeah, sweet. Sorry. Yeah, so that's the mutating versus returning a new object. Extremely helpful sometimes. and in place is in almost every function that you can use, hence the consistent API that's extremely helpful. And you can also get, pardon me, an entire column which returns a series, which was the first data set that we covered. Yeah. So let's do something with this. So we've covered requests in JSON, so let's use them. Here we've got a UQ API for getting upcoming events, not UQCS events sadly, but UQ events. So here we're importing requests in JSON, we're getting that API and the text from it, we're loading that in. I didn't use .json, I failed, and then we're just putting that straight into a data frame. And now we've got all the upcoming events in a data frame. It's where there was less at home. But anyway, so now if you inspected that further, you'd find that the start and end are strings thanks to JSON, which isn't a bad thing. Just means we need to deal with that. So we're just saying that the start column should now be start to date time, and the same with the end. And then we're going to set the index to ID. Index is this the leftmost column, and we're going to sort values by start. This is kind of like lots of stuff at once. It's just trying to show you some cool stuff. So now you can get by ID fairly easily, sorted by start, and then we can filter all events that start after the 12th of the 4th, 2017, really easily. And that's Pandas. Extremely helpful if you need to do any bulk data manipulation. Highly recommend it. I use it a lot at work for Excel files and CSV files. Okay, so there's documentation at pandas.pydata.org/panda-docs/stable.